Hi you guys, I'm back and I've got my hand over my face again. So just like my last video, I do have a rash on my face, so I wanted to give you kind of like a little bit of a warning. It's better than it was in my last video, but it is a rash. So if you're squeamish, just be prepared, but there is a lot that I want to tell you. It's really important. So I'm gonna take my hand down. See, it is so much better than it was. It's mainly across my forehead. It's on my eyelid, my eyebrow. It's actually under my eye. So my eyelid has been getting kind of swollen really badly here down on my neck. And it's just developed right here on my ear. It's a little spotty on my left side, and I have some on my throat, and I have a spot there. But I have it a lot like on my hands, between my fingers, on my arm. You see that? And then like there. Now it looks so much better than it did. I will insert a picture right here of what it looked like on Monday. So I'll put it right here, just to give you some reference. And oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what happened. So I told you in my last video that I was worried that it was like an allergic reaction or it was poison oak, because it really didn't fit. My dog's right here too, and she's just licking herself and she's making icky noises, so I'm going to make her stop. But it just didn't feel right, and it was still growing. And the difference with this rash is it did not itch at all. It just burned. It burned really, really, really badly. And on Wednesday night, which is the day that I did the video, my daughter, she just kept looking at the rash and she was concerned about it. So she actually started doing some research about the rash to try to figure it out. And it turns out that apparently the rash is now one of the rarer symptoms of COVID-19. And she was like, "Mom, look at this." And I was like, no way. But she showed me some pictures and I was like, oh, maybe this is something that I need to check, because looks awfully close to my rash. So like at 11 o'clock at night, I sent a message to my dermatologist and explained exactly what it looked like, what it felt like, what my suspicions were in terms of the allergic reaction or the poison oak. And I explained about my husband being a first responder and that I am an essential worker. And so what should I do? And I'd also actually developed a little bit of a cough. Like if you noticed in my video, I was kind of clearing my throat a lot, and that kind of actually continued, and I'm still experiencing that now. Not as bad right this moment, but like since that time. But that video, I was kind of like coughing and kind of like thick in my throat. So something was kind of up in that video that I was conscious of. But anyway, so I told him about that, and he recommended that I go get tested. And it was sort of as a precaution for just peace of mind to get tested for COVID-19. So on Thursday I went and I did the whole 9 yards. So I'll actually put some video. I'll slip it in somewhere in here. My daughter came with me, so we drove up and we were directed to the line for the testing. The lady, the nurse was there, and she held up a sign with a phone number for me to call. So I called the phone number and it was her. And so I was able to check in, and then I pulled up to the next, and the video I have is when we were waiting in that section.
Getting tested.
And then when I pulled forward, that's when I actually had a full assessment by a MD, and he did the full, ears, nose, throat, temperature. They did not check my blood pressure. That was the only thing that they didn't do. They did palpitations on my stomach. They checked my ears, my throat. But he looked really, really carefully at my rash, at every spot of my rash. He looked really, really close. And he even said that this did not look like poison oak. And he also made a comment that he didn't think that it looked like an allergic reaction either. Well, I am not an expert on rashes. I don't know how many kinds there are. So it was kind of like, okay, that wasn't really meaning a lot to me, just that what I was thinking it was maybe not what it was. And so it would be something else, right? And so, of course, well, so after we did the visit with the actual assessment with the doctor, we were told to drive around. So there was another young man that was in front of us who had a sign that said, "Follow me." And then when he turned around, it said on his back, like, "Parking, follow me." And so we followed him, and we went to the like the parking lot had it set up for, of course, my husband comes out right now. Hold on. So I followed this young guy to the parking lot, which is now basically the waiting room because it's all these cars lined up. And so they directed us to a parking spot, and we waited. I ended up getting a phone call from the medical assistant who did like all my went through all my medications and, you know, with all the normal stuff that goes on like when you go to a doctor's appointment. And then we hung up with her, and we were waiting outside in the car still. We never left the car a single time. And then what we did is what happened was the urgent care doctor ended up calling. And sorry, I'm kind of getting in this weird light with the sun going down. It's kind of hitting me weird. But so the urgent care doctor ends up calling me on the phone, and so she's talking to me, and she's going through all of the different kinds of viruses, and she's explaining how this does not appear. I guess she consulted with the doctor that did my assessment, and she was like, okay, this doesn't appear, it's not bacterial, it does not appear to be an allergic reaction, it doesn't appear to be environmental. And so she's going through all these different ones, and she said what it looks to them like is that this is actually a viral rash, which I don't think I've ever had a viral rash before. And so she said that this is actually indicative of COVID-19. And I was like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, what? And so, yeah, so I left there with a diagnosis of suspected COVID-19 infection. And the reason why it is suspected is because she did not give me the test, the COVID-19 test. And she said it was because they were reserving all of those tests for first responders and frontline workers. And I explained to her, I'm an essential worker, that I'm still going to work, that my husband is a first responder, that my daughter is also an essential worker. So it impacts my life greatly to have this diagnosis. And she's like, well, kind of like, sorry, I wasn't the first responder, and so I couldn't get the test. And so she said I had to treat myself as if I was positive, my family would have to quarantine for 14 days, and that I could not go to work. And so I was like, I was kind of like a little bit in shock, and I wish I'd asked more questions, and I wish I had demanded a test. I don't know if I really could have, because she was pretty adamant that she was pretty clear that I did not qualify for the test because I was not a first responder or a frontline healthcare worker. And so it was only in retrospect where I was like, how did I leave there without getting a test? Well, so I called my husband, and he came, he was sent home straight away. My daughter was home, so I let her know. So she had to actually give up some of her jobs that she had lined up for doing the childcare. And I had to call my supervisor, and then I had to talk to my HR department. And that's when it like really hit me, the impact that this diagnosis was having. So my work was going to send in a cleaning crew to clean out my whole office. I don't mean like my cubicle area, like the whole office. And they were going to send an email to court staff about the fact that there had been, that this was going on, and if anybody had any questions or concerns or So it was just like, you don't realize how much it affects everybody. And the fact that I had not had the test was just like, well, what if everyone's doing this for nothing? What if it's just a virus? So today, my husband was called by his work, and because he was sent home on the paid leave for the COVID-19, and it turned out that there was actually paperwork that he had to get filled out by the physician to basically qualify him for this paid leave. And we didn't have anything because I didn't have a definitive answer whether or not is this just a virus, or is this the COVID-19 virus? So we ended up going back, and plus last night my cough had worsened greatly. I was up all night coughing. I was also, and I still am, I don't feel very good. I don't feel well. I kind of feel like I'm starting to get something like a cold or something. Earlier my nose was a little runny. It's not anymore, it doesn't seem like, but I'm a little my energy is kind of low, and I'm kind of fatigued, and I just kind of feel just kind of off a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't have any respiratory issues. I don't have he listened to my lungs. My lungs are totally fine. I just feel like I have a virus, like a regular little touch of a virus. My stomach is fine though. It's just this terrible rash that burns like heck. But it is improving, like I said. And so we went back, and we had to do everything again. He had to do, I had a different doctor was there that time. And so he did the whole assessment again, checked my oxygen saturation, listened to my lungs, took my temperature, did all that stuff all over again. And we explained that we had been there yesterday, and that she had denied me that I was not given the test. And the doctor was shocked that I was not given the test because I'm symptomatic. In their eyes, I'm symptomatic. And so he even said that I should have gotten the test. And so I was like, well, here we are. Well, when we were so after we saw him, we had to park. We had to do the whole thing again, so we were parked. But this time we were a little at a different spot, and so we were able to kind of witness the people coming in, and could kind of hear what they were saying a little bit. Even though there's signs everywhere that says confidential medical area, no photography, no this, no that, we could actually hear just with our ears conversations. And another guy pulled in and said he'd been there yesterday, and he was told that he was suspected COVID-19, but they hadn't given him a test, and he was feeling worse, and he wanted to get the test. So the same thing that happened to me actually happened to another guy that was there at the same time I was. And so the second time around, I was given the test. It was quite the experience. It was not pleasant. What we did, I was in the passenger seat because my husband was driving, and they have you lean your head like back, because you stay in the car the whole time. You lean your head back against the headrest and kind of put your head up, and they've got like this this Q-tip that's like this long for the swab, and they put it in, but they put it in way past anywhere that you've ever been on your own before, and they put all the way back, and so it's almost like to your brain. And then she tells me, okay, but it's only 10 seconds, and so she puts it in, and oh my gosh. Some people do it. If you've seen anybody else get the test, some people are so stoic and their faces just stay like perfectly still. And other people, their faces like crunch up like, I could not help crunch my face and just be like, oh my gosh, it burned. It really burned. And so she's twisting it, and she's like, 1, 2. And I swear she's the slowest counter on the planet. So she was literally like, she didn't say 1,000, 2, 1,000, but that's as slow as she was counting. And she did all the way to 10. It was the longest 10 seconds of my life. Now, of course, granted, totally worth it. Don't regret it, but it was not comfortable, and it's not anything you'd want to do like voluntarily. If you could avoid it, I would not want to do it again. But what the status is right now is I am still considered suspected COVID-19 infection, and I am pending the results of the swab, and it could be 2 to 3 days. And so I might not know until Monday. This greatly affects my husband and my daughter. So I'm just praying that we get the results quickly, and then we will just know definitively, yes, it is, no, it isn't. If it isn't, my husband goes back to work, my daughter goes back to work. I still can't go back to work because I still do have a virus that is actually considered contagious. And so I'm still prohibited. But then it will just affect me, not my entire family, and not my entire work, and not my entire life. It would just be me. And I would much prefer it just be me that gets affected. So cross my fingers and praying that it is negative, of course. If it is positive, thankfully, I have been very diligent with following all of the orders, face mask, sheltering in place. The only places I go, I'm home, work, the grocery store, the pharmacy, the dumps, the hardware store. That's all. I have not seen any of my family. We haven't gone to any places for food. I have not gone into any other place. there's a lot of social distancing practices already happening. So like when you go to the grocery store, they kind of set it up so you kind of know how to keep apart. They wipe everything down. I feel like I've done the best I can, and I feel like if I do have it, the only people that are at risk are my family, because they're the only ones that I let my guard down, sit with them on, sit in the living room chatting, because of this, I've had this rash for 8 days now. That's why it looks so much better. So I'm on day 8 of the rash. I've been so uncomfortable. I've only slept in my bed with my husband a couple times, just because I knew I would be keeping him awake. And so I just, I want him to be rested, because like I said, he's a first responder. So, yeah, my family's really the only ones at risk. So hopefully we'll find out soon. But I wanted to update you, and also to anybody else out there that is dealing with a rash, that who would have thought? Just consult your doctor. That's my advice. Consult your doctor and get their opinion. Who would have thought? And this is one of the rare symptoms. But again, I wish I could show you like kind of up close so you can kind of see what it looks like. Like in case you happen to have a rash and you're like, could that be it? So mine is like a blotchy, doesn't itch, burns. It's kind of scaly a little bit. It's kind of bumpy. It's hard to see texture. I mean, this lighting is terrible. Here, there's like little tiny there's little bumps in between my fingers. There's like little tiny pinpoint blisters. I have it kind of formed like little individual bumps like all over my hand, but I'm serious. What I see looking at my phone and what I saw in the mirror are very different. This looks a lot less obvious. My hands, my rash looks a lot faded, but when I look at it with my eyes, just looking at my arm and then looking at what I see there, it's worse what I see with my eyes here. But yeah, it definitely, it burns. But anyway, so I'll keep you updated. Sure, I'm fine. I'm not worried about it. I am a people person. The fact that I'm inconveniencing people and possibly scaring people at work, thinking that they've been exposed to somebody that has COVID-19, that honestly upsets me like the most about the whole thing, because I'm just that type of person. So anyway, I will let you know as soon as I know, and I'm sure when I come back I'm gonna say great news, it was negative. That's my hope, but we'll see. So anyway, hang in there, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.